everybody. Welcome back to the YouTube channel of Science is Confusing. Today we'll be discussing inflation and why it occurs. So let us first define the term inflation. Simply speaking, inflation is the phenomenon of rise in general price levels of an economy. Now the question is, why does inflation occur? To answer this, we first need to look into two broad types of inflation: cost push inflation and demand pull inflation. Before we analyze the causes of inflation, we must first realize that an economy acts as a highly interconnected system of individual decision-making agents. In other words, every single action that people take in their day-to-day life, from people like you and me deciding what clothes or food to buy, to firms and companies deciding on their action plans, affect how the economy performs as a whole. So let's look at each of the types of inflation one at a time. To begin with, cost push inflation, as the name suggests, is a result of rise in the cost of production. In this perspective, cost push inflation originates from the production or supply side of an economy. Cost push inflation manifests in the form of rise in price or shortage in the supply of raw materials. The most common cause would be the sudden increase in the price of oil. Other causes can be shortage in labor supply, which might result in a sudden hike in wages. Economists call this by a fancy name, supply shocks. When producers face difficulties in production, their most obvious response is to charge a higher price for their product in the market, thereby pushing up the general price level. Now, as we mentioned before, a producer's decision at one end of the market percolates to the other end through various economic channels. Let's look at a hypothetical example to see how this happens. Suppose that one fine day, the owner of a honey-producing firm, Sweet Gold, finds that his bees are producing less honey every day. His immediate response is to revise the market price of his product. The next day, he mails his business partner, Honey Treats, that he has increased the price of his honey. The owner of Honey Treats immediately raises the price of his product, the honey-flavored snacks. The families that regularly consumed these honey-flavored snacks saw a rise in their monthly expenses, and thereby their family heads started demanding higher salaries in their respective jobs. The management authorities of these jobs are now facing an increase in the price of their raw materials labor. So in turn, they increase the price of their products. And this goes on. The ultimate result is a rise in the general price level of an economy, which we call cost push inflation. So now let's look at what demand pull inflation is all about. Demand pull inflation works in the reverse direction, operating from the consumption or demand side of an economy. This happens when the buyers of a product start to demand more of it. That is, there is excess demand in the market. These are analyzed under the heading of demand shocks. Naturally, the producers are motivated to increase the price of the good, which pulls up the price level in the economy. When the suppliers of raw materials see that the producers are getting higher profits out of these raised prices, the suppliers themselves increase the price of the raw materials that they supply to the producers. The reasoning continues to move upstream the production channel. Similar to the argument in cost push inflation, the spirit of price rise spreads in the economy like wildfire, leading to an obvious case of demand pull inflation. Inflation can also be a result of excess money supply in an economy. The idea is based on the quantity theory of money by the American economist Irving Fisher. Let's take a quick detour and have a look at what this theory is all about. It does involve some simple mathematics, but I promise you, it's not rocket science. Just a couple of equations in basic algebra and we are good to go. What must be mentioned here is that the quantity theory of money can be interpreted in several alternative ways, and we shall only be looking into one of these interpretations. The quantity theory of money defines velocity of money supply, denoted by V, as the ratio of nominal GDP of an economy to the money supply in that economy. Nominal money supply is nothing but the product of the general price level of an economy, P, and the total output of an economy, Y. The definition of GDP isn't that simple, but in our discussion, this suffices. And the money supply M is, well, the total money supplied in an economy. This is the essence of the celebrated quantity theory of money. But how is that relevant to inflation, you may ask? Have you heard of the saying, there's no smoke without fire? I say there's no inflation without price. A slight modification in the representation reveals that given the output level and velocity of an economy, an increase in money supply can only result in an increase in price. And voila, we have inflation. In fact, to quote another American economist, Milton Friedman, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. So the next time you find yourself engulfed in a fiery discussion about inflation and somebody asks you, hey, what is this inflation all about? You know what to say. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to our channel for many such informative videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.